Welcome back to another episode of Defy the Odds Basketball, the podcast. I'm your host, Wyatt Guerin, and in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about why I don't think being a good basketball player makes you automatically a good basketball coach. Before we do get into today's episode, though, if you do enjoy the podcast, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, do whatever you can, as it does greatly help out. And if there's anything that you would like me to go over in the future, please just make sure to drop a comment. As well, if you do enjoy this type of content and you want to see more like it, make sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube, where we post a lot of similar content and some other stuff. With that being said, let's get straight into today's episode. So like I said, I'm going to be going through why I don't think being a good basketball player automatically makes you a good basketball coach. I feel like in today's basketball world, a major credential I see in the basketball training and coaching area is if they played pro or D1 basketball. And if they have, then that's it. They're a good coach, they're a good trainer, let's go train with them. And if they haven't, then everything they say doesn't mean anything. I literally saw it might have been today or like yesterday. I saw this guy that's been constantly popping up on my For You page, like on Instagram, and he's like a basketball coach, trainer, and he does a lot of breakdowns on Instagram. And I kept seeing his stuff. I recently just followed him because he's really good. And the stuff he says is just high quality. And one of the videos I saw was somebody commented and he was responding to it, and they commented saying, really good stuff, curious, did you play high level basketball? And he kind of gave his breakdown on his journey, and the short story is no, he didn't. He played high school and that was it. I think the fact that we always resort to, have you played high level basketball? It's a flawed idea. Now, for some background, I am a basketball trainer and coach. Been training for this is my third year training, trained over 70 athletes. And my first year coaching my very own AAU team in Canada. And we went 7-2 in our season, and I've had a really good year. I never played high level basketball. I went up to high school basketball, and then in my grade 12 year, I decided to take a step back and pursue the coaching and training, because this is what I knew. I knew I really wanted to do this. And my big idea, like my kind of thought process was, I don't want to spend the next year or two, because I was staying back for grade 13, grinding to try and play at the next level, and then play, like, say, university for 4 years, and then what? Because I knew I didn't want to go. I knew I didn't really want to continue my playing career. I knew I wanted to do this moving forward. So I decided to pivot and devote everything I had to becoming the best trainer and coach I can. And I think that's kind of the key here. I think it's great if you've played high-level basketball. I think that gives you a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge to bring to young athletes. I think it's amazing. I don't think it can be the only thing on your resume, and I think players need to not focus and dwell on that as much as they do. Being a great player and playing professionally, you're playing at that high level, is amazing. But I think there's a lot of flaws that come with it. They need to put in the same time and effort into coaching and training, like how I mentioned I pivot and put everything I had into learning. I think these players need to do the same. Put in the same time and effort they did to make it to that high level of basketball. I think they need to do the same thing into their coaching and training career. I think that's what makes a good coach and trainer. Not just because you played high level basketball, but because you're a good trainer and coach. They are very different. Being a good basketball player and being a coach and trainer are very two different things. And I'll give us some examples here. This is kind of moving into the bulk of it, because I've seen a lot of guys that are like, yeah, I played D1 basketball back in the day, and they think because they've done that, they're just gonna like offload everything that they've done in their playing career to make you good. And they think it's just going to be a direct transfer. It's just going to be a direct, like a copy and paste is what I see. And it's a lot of cone drills, stationary ball handling, form shooting, and they're teaching you not as a coach, but teaching you as if they were doing the practice themselves, if that makes sense. Like as if they were you. They're giving you feedback based on if they were in your shoes right now. And I think it's just very flawed, because just because they know how to execute a skill or a drill or a shot or a dribble move or something does not mean they know how to teach it to multiple different kids who all learn different, move different, and play different. And this is why you will see so many players move stiff and shoot stiff and stuff like that, because of something called implicit feedback. So when you give players feedback on, like, think of keep your shoulder 90 degrees, elbow tucked into your side, okay, snap the wrist back, right? You are giving them all these little things to think about and how to move their body. Studies have shown, there's been lots of research on this, that when you give that type of feedback, it makes players basically shoot or move stiffer, because they are now like literally locking up every joint to move it differently, when in reality our body has to move together. So when you give players these little things to focus on, and they try to focus on those, it just creates nothing good, right? It's really counterproductive. And I find a lot of the time, again, with these pro basketball players or these high-level basketball players, is that's how they teach. They teach with a copy and paste model. They teach with a lot of implicit feedback. You make one mistake, they're there to be like, nope, your elbow flared out by 1%, like 1 degree, right? Everyone moves different, right? Because of injury history, past sport history, like limb length, how tall people are, everything like that all goes into how people move, right? And everyone learns differently too. Some people might need less talking and more demonstration, or more just playing like the game to like feel it out and explore things and learn through the game, which I think is invaluable, and it's like it should be used more. But again, I think we need to move away from that implicit feedback and that copy and paste model. And I've seen this one trainer on Instagram. She used to play, I think, the D1 basketball, and she coaches every athlete. So I don't even know the word, but like I'll just use the example of like the implicit feedback that we were talking about. So much implicit feedback. Literally walks them through it, stops them mid-shot to correct their technique. And I have to admit, then when they go and do the drill after, they look very uncomfortable, they look very stiff, and it just doesn't look good, and it doesn't sound good to like listen to as in like the training. Athletes need to be adaptable, fluid. That's what separates good athletes. And I'll come back to, again, this point of, I think it's really valuable for coaches to have played at the next level. Like, sure, it's great because they have a lot of knowledge and experience about what the journey to get there, about the experience in general, right? And the work ethic and all that. That is really great and the connections. It's really great. That's undeniable. But it comes back to the idea of that cannot be the only credential. If I was to go to a trainer that was pro or at high level, used to play high level basketball, I would have to see that they've put in as much effort into being a coach, right? Because I do see a lot of the time players stop playing pro or stop playing at a high level and then immediately become a coach or trainer. Coaching is a little like easier in a sense because like JJ Redick, right? He kind of transferred to that coaching not too long after playing because he had such a high sense of IQ, right? But at NBA, you also have guys that are separate from the coach that are in charge of player development, right? So you got guys to do a little everything. When you're coaching youth and you're like the coach, you're also the trainer. You're also helping these guys develop. So again, it comes down to, can you teach multiple different kids? Can you give them different cues? Can you teach them all differently and not use a copy and paste model? I think if you can do that and pair that with the experience of playing at that next level, that's what would make you a good coach. Not just because you played at the next level, because again, and I'll give you an example. I made a video on Instagram about this like a year ago, and it's of Steph Curry. I think he's at a camp giving a shooting advice to some players, and you've probably seen it or heard of this example. He gives this tip a lot, and it's how to he says like when the ball is in your hand and you're shooting, to leave a little bit of space between the palm of your hand and the ball, and kind of have your fingertips on it, which is great. Like that's how I shoot. I know like lots of players shoot like that. But then you take a video of him shooting. I found multiple videos of him shooting, and it's flat. The palm is flat on the ball, right? Again, this is not to say he's a bad shooter. None of that. It's because players at a high level don't have any actual recognition of what they're doing, or sorry, of how they're doing it. They are like, it's so ingrained that it's like walking to them, right? So when they try to teach it, it's very hard because again, they're like, it comes back to that implicit feedback. They're like trying to take something that they know how to do. They do it all the time, but it's not like they sit there going through the step by step, right? They just do it. They don't think about it. They're just like, okay, I'm gonna get into my shot and make it. That's all they're probably thinking, not, okay, elbow here, right? Going through their checklist, because that's not realistic. So you're asking them to like very draw all that information out and then break it down to these kids. That's not how that works. And then they think they know it, but they're saying something different because again, it comes back to the idea of they know what they're doing, but they don't know exactly what's going into it because it's so ingrained. So again, got to move away from the copy and paste and just assuming that it's going to work for every single athlete because it worked for them. And again, if you can move away from that, then it's great to have a higher level player be a coach or trainer. But again, it depends on if they've invested that time and effort into becoming a coach and trainer, because there's so much that goes into it. I've learned so much over just 3 years, and I'm just scraping the surface. There's so much that goes into work. First of all, just working with kids. Second of all, how people learn, how people move, managing. Like there's so much. There's so much that goes into it. And the credential of because you played at a higher level should not be one and done deal. That should not be the holy grail, right? I think it's a bonus. I don't think it's the make or break. And to question somebody that knows a lot about basketball and coaching and training because they didn't play at that a higher level is absurd. Transforming Basketball, the founder Alex Sarama. If you don't know him, go check out their stuff because it's really good. But big leader in coaching athletes, coaching coaches, and the founder. A couple years ago was the head of player development for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's had other G League stuff, and now he's head coach of the new Portland WNBA team. And I'm pretty sure he has not played like super high level basketball. And I remember when that got posted, like that he got hired as the coach for the WNBA team, people were commenting saying this guy never played high level basketball. If that's the only credential you're looking for, then that's going to be an issue. I'm a strong believer of that because there's so much more that goes into being a good coach and trainer than just being at the next level. So, with that being said, that's where we're going to end today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Defy the Odds Basketball podcast. As always, if you did enjoy, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, do whatever you can, as it does greatly help out. And if there's anything that you want me to go over in the future, please just drop a comment and I'll make sure to go over it. And if you do enjoy this type of content, make sure to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube. Both of those can be found in the description. Thank you.